Marlene Brooks saw the wallet beneath the bench at 8:43 on a Monday morning. She saw the clock above the downtown bus terminal at almost the same moment. 17 minutes. That was how long she had to get 3 blocks east, sign in at Harbor House, and convince somebody behind a desk that 59 years of life could still fit inside a fresh start. "Come on," she whispered to herself. Her bus had already made her late. Now somebody had gone and lost a wallet. Marlene almost kept walking. Almost. The brown leather wallet sat half under the bench beside an abandoned newspaper. People stepped around it without noticing. She stopped. That was the problem with Marlene. She noticed things. She noticed when an old man dropped a glove. She noticed when a grocery clerk gave her too much change. She noticed when somebody left a purse hanging from a chair. Sometimes she wished she didn't. She picked up the wallet. It was heavy. Inside were credit cards, a driver's license, and more cash than Marlene had held at one time in months. Hundreds, maybe $800. Her stomach tightened. She hadn't eaten breakfast. The previous night she'd slept in a women's shelter where every cough, whisper, and squeaking mattress seemed to happen 3 inches from her face. In the side pocket of her canvas bag was everything she owned that mattered. 2 shirts, socks, medication, a photograph of her mother, and the Harbor House intake card. 9 o'clock. Don't be late. Marlene looked at the money again. Nobody would know, she murmured. The words made her angry the second they left her mouth. She snapped the wallet shut. The driver's license said, Charles Edward Whitman, 68. The address was across town, but tucked behind his license was a hotel key sleeve from the Beaumont, 2 blocks in the opposite direction from Harbor House. Marlene looked at the clock. 8:45. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. She shoved the wallet into her coat pocket and hurried toward the Beaumont. At 8:51 she pushed through the hotel's glass doors. A young man behind the front desk looked up. Marlene knew that look. He saw her coat before he saw her face. He saw the fraying canvas bag, the shoes that had survived 2 winters, the hair she'd pulled back using a rubber band she'd found around yesterday's newspaper. "Can I help you?" "I need Charles Whitman." The clerk's expression tightened. "Is he expecting you?" "No." "Are you a guest?" "No." Nods teeth. "I have his wallet." That changed him. "A wallet?" "Yes, a wallet. Brown. Leather. Full of things he's probably already having a heart attack over." The clerk stood. "I can take it. No offense, honey, but I'm putting it in his hand. Hotel policy. Page him." The clerk hesitated. Marlene looked through the glass doors toward the street. 8:53. "Please." Maybe it was the word please. Maybe it was something in her face. The clerk picked up the phone. Less than 2 minutes later, a tall, gray-haired man came across the lobby at a pace somewhere between walking and jogging. He wore a navy jacket, white shirt, and no tie. "Wallet." Marlene pulled it from her pocket. "You Charles Whitman?" "Yes." She handed it over. He opened it immediately, checking the license first and then the money. Marlene noticed that. She also noticed the embarrassment on his face when he realized she'd noticed. "Everything's there," she said. "I wasn't." "You were checking." "I was." "At least you're honest." That surprised a laugh out of him. Then he counted nothing else. He closed the wallet. "Where did you find this?" "Bus station." He stared at her. "The downtown station? Unless they built another one overnight. You came all the way here?" Don't make it sound heroic. It's 2 blocks. He opened the wallet again and pulled out $200 bills. Marlene's face changed immediately. No. Please. No. You just saved me a tremendous amount of trouble. Then celebrate by not losing it again. She stepped away. Charlie looked at the money, then at her. Could I at least buy you breakfast? I've got somewhere to be. Her intake card slipped from the folder tucked under her arm. It hit the marble floor between them. Charlie bent and picked it up before she could. Harbor House. Give me that. He handed it back. Then his eyes went to the clock behind reception. 9:03. His expression changed. You were supposed to be there at 9. Marlene took the card. I can read. You missed that appointment bringing us back? It wasn't exactly planned. You should have kept going. She gave him a long look. You would have? Charlie opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Marlene nodded. Yeah, that's what I thought. Wait, Dar. I've done enough waiting. I can drive you. It won't change the clock. Maybe they'll make an exception. Marlene started toward the door. Charlie followed. I'll explain. She stopped so quickly he nearly walked into her. You'll explain what? That this was my fault. No. Marlene. She frowned. He pointed at the intake card. Your name. Right. Marlene, you gave up an appointment for me. I gave up 12 minutes. Apparently 12 important minutes. She looked through the hotel doors at the sidewalk. Then, at the wallet, in his hand. Mr. Whitman, I've spent a lot of my life having people decide what something I did means before I get to explain it. I don't need you turning this into another story about me. Charlie was quiet. What does it mean? It means I found your wallet. And returned it. That's generally what you do with things that aren't yours. Something about the way she said it stopped him completely. Charlie slid the money back inside. Let me drive you to Harbor House. Marlene looked at him again. No speech? No speech. No cash. No cash. No calling somebody who owes you a favor. Charlie almost smiled. You've got me figured out pretty quick. Men with expensive watches aren't complicated. He glanced at his watch. That ad hurts. Good. She walked toward the doors. Charlie followed her. For the first time that morning, Marlene wasn't thinking about the wallet. She was thinking about the word she'd seen 3 months earlier on the last employment form Maple Ridge Senior Living had mailed her. Termination reason. Theft. She'd thrown it away. She'd told herself it didn't matter. At 9:07 on that Monday morning, Marlene Brooks decided she was done, pretending it didn't. Harbor House occupied an old brick building squeezed between a pharmacy and a church thrift store. Charlie parked across the street. Marlene was already out of the car before he shut off the engine. Inside, a woman behind a security desk checked the time. Intake. Yes. Name. Marlene Brooks. The woman typed. Her expression shifted. Have a seat. That good, huh? The woman didn't answer. Charlie sat 2 chairs away from Marlene instead of beside her. She appreciated that. 10 minutes later, a woman in a green cardigan stepped through the security door. Marlene? Yes. Dana Pike. Intake director. Marlene stood. Dana glanced at Charlie. Family. No, Marlene said. Charlie said, no. They said it simultaneously. Dana looked between them. Marlene sighed. Here's a wallet. Charlie looked at her. Dana blinked. Long story. Okay. Dana led Marlene into a small office. Charlie stayed outside until Marlene looked back at him. "You can come." He followed. Dana sat behind a desk, covered in folders. "You were scheduled for 9. I know. We ask people to arrive 15 minutes early. I know that too." Dana's voice wasn't cruel. That almost made it worse. Marlene placed both hands on her knees. "I had to return something." Charlie spoke. "My wallet. She found it at the bus terminal. I'm the reason she was late." Dana studied him. "Mr. Whitman, I appreciate you explaining that, but lateness isn't the only issue." Marlene felt her shoulders tighten. "What issue?" Dana turned a computer screen slightly away. "Your employment verification from Maple Ridge." Marlene stared at her. Dana continued carefully. "The record says you were terminated following theft of company property." Charlie's head turned toward Marlene. She didn't look at him. They were throwing it away. Dana folded her hands. "I don't make a judgment on the underlying event. You just make a judgment based on the word. I make decisions based on the documentation we receive." "So what's the difference?" Dana paused. "Harbor House places residents in shared transitional apartments. We also have employment partnerships. Certain findings require review." "Food," Marlene said. Charlie looked at her. Dana did too. "It was food." "What happened?" "I worked nights in the kitchen. Senior living place. Maple Ridge. After dinner service, sealed meals left over from residents who went to the hospital. Changed meal plans, whatever. We logged them as waste." "And you took them?" "Yes." "Were you allowed?" Marlene's jaw tightened. "Kathy let people take them." "Kathy?" "My supervisor." "Was that written policy?" "No." "So, officially?" Marlene hated the question because she knew the answer. "Officially, we weren't supposed to." Dana nodded once. "That's what the employer reported." "They reported theft." "Yes." Marlene sat back. "You ever throw away a whole tray of chicken while somebody you work with is deciding whether to buy groceries or pay electric?" Dana didn't answer. "I'm not asking whether it was right," Marlene said. "I'm asking if you'd call that person a thief." "I don't know enough to answer." "At least that's honest." Charlie shifted in his chair. "What does she need to do?" Marlene turned. "I can talk." "I know." "Then let me." Charlie nodded. Marlene faced Dana. "What do I do? If Maple Ridge corrects or clarifies the termination record, we can reconsider." "How long?" "Your application remains open until Friday at noon." 4 days. Marlene let out a breath. "And if they don't, you can reapply in the next intake cycle." "When?" "Approximately 6 weeks." Marlene laughed once without humor. "Approximately." Dana's voice softened. "I know that's not the answer you want. You don't know half the answers I want." Dana slid a paper toward her. "This explains the reconsideration process." Marlene took it. Outside, Charlie followed her into the courtyard. "Marlene.T. No, I haven't said anything. You're about to. I was going to ask what you need." "That right there." "What?" "The rich guy question." Charlie leaned against a railing. "I don't think that's a rich guy question. It's absolutely a rich guy question. Poor people ask, 'What can I do?' Rich people ask, 'What do you need?' Because they're used to having the answer in their pocket." He looked at his wallet. She caught him doing it. "That was almost funny," she said. "Almost." "Don't get cocky." Charlie smiled. Then he grew serious. Where are you staying? Women's shelter. I can get you a room. No. Marlene. No. Just through Friday. That becomes Saturday. Then Sunday. Then you're standing there holding a hotel bill and wondering why I'm not grateful enough. I wouldn't do that. You don't know what you do? He looked down. You're right. Marlene wasn't expecting that. Charlie sat on the edge of a planter. Why didn't you contest it when they fired you? Marlene stared across the street. A bus hissed at the corner. My sister was sick. Charlie waited. Cancer. I was working nights, taking buses across town in the morning to help her. Kathy knew. Everybody knew. Those meals they were throwing away. Some nights that was dinner for both of us. Charlie said nothing. My sister died 11 days after Maple Ridge fired me. I'm sorry. Yeah, you didn't have the energy to fight. I didn't care. Marlene rubbed her hands together. That's not true. I cared. I just didn't have anything left to spend on being angry. And now I'm sitting outside a housing program because somebody wrote one ugly word on a form. Theft. Theft. Charlie looked at her. You want to clear it. I want them to write what actually happened. What's that? Marlene thought. I broke a rule. Charlie waited. But I wasn't sneaking food out from residents' plates. I wasn't selling it. I wasn't stealing from old people. Kathy knew we took leftovers. She'd stand there and tell us what could go. So prove that. Marlene gave him a look. You say things like a man who owned companies. I did. There it is. I didn't say it was easy. No, you just said it like everybody keeps evidence of the worst day of their life in a neat little folder. Charlie absorbed that. Okay, where would you start? Marlene looked at the paper Dana had given her. Then at him. At the library. They used 2 public computers. Marlene tried 3 passwords before she got into her old employee email portal. Most messages had expired. Her termination documents were still there. She read the line again. Unauthorized removal of company food products. Employee was aware this constituted theft. Her face burned. Charlie sat beside her but didn't lean over. Do you want me to read it? No. She clicked a grievance link. An online form opened. Reason for dispute. Marlene placed her fingers on the keyboard. Nothing happened. You okay? Charlie asked. Nope, Bert. She started typing anyway. She wrote that she had removed sealed meals already designated for disposal. She wrote that employees had done so with supervisor's knowledge. She wrote that she accepted responsibility for violating written policy. Then she wrote, I dispute being described as a thief. Charlie read only when she turned the screen toward him. That's good. I didn't ask. I know. She almost deleted the entire thing. Instead, she clicked submit. A confirmation appeared. Formal review requested. Response expected within 3 business days. Charlie pointed at it. You did it. Don't celebrate yet. Wasn't planning a parade. Marlene printed the confirmation and folded it into her folder. Then she looked at the clock. The day wasn't even half over. For the first time in months, she had a plan. And plans, she remembered, were dangerous things. They gave you something to lose. Maple Ridge Senior Living smelled exactly the same. Floor wax, coffee, something baked with cinnamon. Marlene stood outside the employee entrance the next afternoon with Charlie several feet behind her. You don't have to come in, she said. I know. Actually, you probably shouldn't. That's what I figured. She looked at him. You're learning. Slowly. Marlene went inside alone. The receptionist recognized her. Marlene. Hey, Amy. I heard about your sister. I'm sorry. Thank you. The sympathy almost undid her. Marlene pointed toward the corridor. Kathy working? Amy's expression became cautious. She is. Could you tell her I'm here? 5 minutes later, Kathy Sloan appeared. Kathy was 55, neat as ever, blonde hair cut exactly at her jaw. Marlene and Barta? Kathy, I heard you filed a review. Word travels fast. Aisha contacted me. Good. Kathy folded her arms. What are you hoping to accomplish? Change the word theft. Kathy's face tightened. You removed company property. Food going in the trash. Company property. You told us we could take sealed extras. I occasionally told staff that certain items could be taken after approval. Marlene stared at her. After approval? Yes. You'd stand by the back door and say, take whatever's sealed before facilities dumps it. I don't remember saying that. Memory is complicated. Marlene laughed. That's cute. Marlene? Dutch? No, really. Cute. Kathy lowered her voice. You know there were compliance rules. I know. You signed them. I know. And you took food without documenting permission. Yes. Then I'm not sure why we're having this conversation. Because you wrote thief. I wrote what happened. No. You wrote what protected you. Kathy's face changed just enough. Marlene saw it. There. Something. Fear? Anger. Be careful, Kathy said. Of what? You're making accusations. No. I'm asking you to correct one. I have nothing to correct. Marlene stepped closer. Not threatening. Just unwilling to shrink. If HR asks, are you going to tell them you never let anybody take sealed leftovers home? Kathy didn't answer immediately. Then she said, I'll tell them staff were responsible for following policy. Marlene nodded. That wasn't my question. I have work to do. So do I. Kathy turned and walked away. Outside, Charlie was waiting beside his car. How'd it go? She remembered everything except the things that mattered. Meaning? She says we needed approval every time. Did you? Sometimes. And other times? She'd wave at the trays and say, take it. Charlie nodded slowly. Anybody else hear that? Marlene looked across the parking lot. Nora, co-worker, prep cook, wrote down every damn thing in a little spiral notebook because dietary counts changed every 10 minutes. Still works here. As far as I know. Charlie reached for his phone. Marlene held up one finger. No. I was just checking the time. Sure you were. He showed her the screen. See? Okay. My bad. Charlie put it away. You want lunch? I can buy my own lunch. I didn't ask if you could. That sounded smoother in your head, didn't it? A lot smoother. She smiled despite herself. They went to a diner where coffee came in thick white mugs and nobody cared how long you sat if you kept ordering refills. Marlene reconstructed the last month at Maple Ridge. The residents' meals were prepared according to counts. Some trays never left the kitchen. Residents went to hospitals. Family members took them out. Diet orders changed. The sealed extras couldn't be served the next day. So they were logged as waste? Charlie asked. Everything got counted. Who did that? Usually me or Nora. Where are the logs? At Maple Ridge. You should request them. From the people I'm fighting. That's generally where evidence lives. Marlene pointed her fork at him. You really can't stop being businessman, can you? Retired businessman. Worse. More free time. He laughed. She didn't. Not completely. Nora's the better place to start, Marlene said. That evening, Marlene waited in the parking lot of Nora Bell's apartment building. Nora pulled in at 6:20. She saw Marlene and froze. Marlene? Hey! Nora got out slowly. Everything okay? Not really. Marlene explained the housing application. Then, the grievance. Nora listened until Marlene said, I put your name down. Nora's face went pale. You what? As somebody who worked with me. You put my name on an HR complaint. I thought. No, you didn't. Marlene stopped. Nora looked toward her building. I still work there. I know. Then why would you do that? Because you know Kathy. Let us? I know what I know. That doesn't mean I want my name in it. Marlene's stomach dropped. Nora, I've got a kid in community college. My husband got his hours cut. I need that job. I wasn't trying to put you in trouble. Well, you did. I just need the truth. And I need a paycheck. The sentence landed hard. Marlene nodded. You're right. Nora looked surprised. I should have asked. Yes. I'm sorry. Nora opened her car door again. Marlene, Kathy's already tense. Corporate's been all over that place for months. Marlene's head lifted. Why? Nora shook her head. I shouldn't have said that. What happened? Nothing. Forget it. Nora. I can't. She got back into the car. Marlene stepped away. The brake lights came on. Then the window lowered. Nora looked at her. You remember my prep notebooks? Marlene's heart jumped. Yeah. I kept them. Why? Because I'm weird. You're not weird. I've got 8 years of spiral notebooks in a closet. Okay, that's weird. Nora almost smiled. Then she looked serious again. I'll look. That's all I'm asking. No, you already asked more than that. Marlene took the hit. You're right. The window went up. Nora drove away. Marlene stood alone in the parking lot. Her first real attempt had done exactly what Dana's little sheet of paper hadn't warned her about. It had made things worse. The employment packet arrived by email the next morning. 43 pages. Marlene printed only the pages she could afford at the shelter office, then read the rest on her phone. At first, it all looked bad. Signed policy. Employee. Handbook detoire. Supervisor statement. Termination notice. Then she reached the food disposal records. Marlene sat straighter. There were dates. Counts. Initials. The meals she had taken were listed under the heading. Discard. End of service. She read it again. Discard. Not resident meals. Not missing inventory. Discard. It didn't make taking them officially allowed. Marlene knew that. But it made the word theft feel uglier. That afternoon she met Charlie at a laundromat because Marlene had clothing in 2 dryers and refused to leave them unattended. Charlie spread copies across a plastic folding table. Why are these attached? Because they investigated the food counts. And according to this, nothing was missing before disposal. Exactly. Charlie looked at her. This matters. It matters to me. It'll matter to HR. You don't know that. No, I don't. Marlene liked him better when he remembered to say that. Charlie pulled out his phone. I know somebody who spent 30 years in employment law. Marlene slapped her palm on the table. Nope. I haven't called anybody. Then keep the streak alive. They could tell us. Oos. Charlie stopped. Marlene lowered her voice. This is what you. What? You get uncomfortable and start reaching for powerful people. Charlie leaned back. I was trying to help. I know. Is helping automatically bad? No. Then what am I missing? Marlene looked at the dryers spinning behind him. You're trying to make the scary part go away. Wouldn't you? If I could afford to. He looked stunned. She sighed. That came out mean? It came out true. I don't want somebody with a fancy title calling Maple Ridge and making them nervous because you're Charles Whitman. I didn't say I'd have him call. Then what happens when he tells you what to do? You tell me. Then I'm standing in a room saying somebody else's words. Charlie was silent. I need to understand this myself, Marlene said. So when Kathy says I'm lying, I don't look at you for the answer. He folded his phone and placed it face down. Okay. Your plan. Marlene studied him. You really mean that? I'll try. That's not the same thing. Best I've got. Her dryer buzzed. Marlene stood. Good enough. That evening, Nora called. Can you meet me? They chose a grocery store cafe because it was busy enough that Nora didn't feel watched. Nora arrived carrying a plastic shopping bag. She sat without ordering. I found the notebook. Marlene didn't reach for it. You sure? No. Then don't. Nora stared at her. You need this. I need you to decide. Nora pushed the bag across. You're making it annoying to stay mad at you. I've got talents. Inside was a red spiral notebook. Nora flipped through it. November 2 years ago. That's when you started taking dinners to your sister, right? About then. Nora found a page. Next to meal counts she'd written, Kathy says sealed extras can go after close. Save 2 turkey. Title. Marlene stared. Another date. 3 salmon extra. Kathy okay to staff. Another. Discard 7. Staff can take after count. Charlie wasn't there. Marlene was glad. This needed to belong to her first. You wrote everything, she said. I told you. Why? If a resident's daughter called asking why her mother's tray had chicken instead of fish, guess who got blamed? The kitchen. Exactly. Nora tapped the notebook. So I kept notes. Marlene ran her finger beneath Kathy's name. I wasn't imagining it. No. You remember her saying it? Yes. Would you tell HR? Nora looked away. I don't know. Marlene nodded. I won't ask tonight. You're asking with your face. Sorry. Nora closed the notebook. Here's the thing. Kathy wasn't always like that. Like what? Scared. Marlene looked up. Nora lowered her voice. Corporate sent an audit notice around the week they fired you. Marlene felt a shift inside her. What kind of audit? Food controls, waste, kitchen purchasing, stuff like that. And then I got fired. Yeah. Before or after the notice? I don't remember. Could you check? Nora shook her head. No, that's enough. Marlene stopped. Nora pushed the notebook toward her. You can copy these pages. Don't take the book. I wouldn't. Marlene. Yeah? I really am scared. Marlene reached across the table but stopped before touching Nora's hand. I know. The next morning, Marlene compared the dates. Her termination statement had been signed on December 14th. The food records showed nothing unusual. Nora's notebook showed Kathy allowing sealed extras throughout November and early December. But the audit notice wasn't in Marlene's packet. Not yet. Still, for the first time, the question wasn't whether Kathy knew. Marlene knew she knew. The question was what made Kathy suddenly decide to forget. Marlene returned to the library. Charlie arrived carrying 2 coffees. She stared at his cup. Did you ask what I take? Black. How'd you know? You drank 3 cups black at the diner. Marlene accepted it. That's either thoughtful or creepy. I took a chance. She opened the employment packet on the computer. Look at this. Charlie pulled up a chair. This is Kathy's written statement. December 14th. Okay. Nora says corporate sent an audit notice around then. You need the notice. Yep. Can HR give it to you? Maybe not directly. Marlene searched the packet again. At the bottom of a food control checklist was a reference number. She opened the attached documents. Nothing. Then she found an email header buried behind the termination report. Subject: Upcoming compliance review, food waste, and inventory controls. Date: December 13th. Marlene stopped breathing for a second. Charlie noticed. What? She pointed. He leaned closer. Kathy was copied. December 13th. And her statement is the 14th. Marlene sat back. There you go. Charlie frowned. Careful. She looked at him. Look who's telling me careful. This suggests motive. Doesn't prove it. I know. You need Kathy to explain why her description changed. I know. Charlie nodded. You're getting good at this. Don't patronize me. I wasn't. I know. I'm practicing. He laughed. Marlene printed the page. Then she did something Charlie didn't expect. She drove back to Maple Ridge. Kathy came outside after Marlene refused to leave a message. You again. May again. Marlene. HR told me not to discuss the review. Then don't discuss it. Kathy folded her arms. Marlene held up the audit notice. Just tell me if I've got something wrong. Kathy looked at it. Her face gave away nothing. You received this December 13th. Yes. The next morning you wrote that I'd been secretly taking company food. I wrote that you removed food without authorization. After letting us take sealed leftovers for months. I didn't authorize what you did. Not in writing. Correct. So why didn't you discipline anybody in November? Kathy's jaw tightened. I don't have to explain management decisions to you. Why didn't you call it theft then? You're twisting this. No, I'm untwisting it. Kathy stepped closer. Do you think an audit means I invented what you did? No. The answer surprised her. Marlene continued. I took the meals. Kathy blinked. I broke the written rule. Then, what exactly are we arguing about? The lie around it. Kathy stared. You want me to say you did nothing wrong? No. That stopped her. I want you to say exactly what happened. And what happened? You tolerated something you weren't supposed to tolerate. Then when corporate started checking, you acted like I'd done it behind your back. That is not what happened. Then in explaining it at the hearing, Kathy's face hardened. You really want a hearing? Yes. You understand you could make your situation worse. It already says thief. Future employers may receive more detail. Then they'll get the truth. You took food. Yes. Knowing policy prohibited it. Yes. Kathy seemed almost frustrated that Marlene wouldn't deny it. You could withdraw this. I could. Maybe you should. Marlene shook her head. No. On the bus back downtown, Charlie sat beside her. For several stops neither spoke. Finally he said, You changed your argument. Yeah. Why? Because Kathy was right about one thing. Charlie waited. I did break the rule. You already admitted that. There's a difference between saying it and building your whole case around it. He looked out the window. What are you going to tell HR? The truth. That's usually the expensive option. Tell me about it. You could lose the housing appeal. I might. Employment opportunities too. Yeah. Boy. And you're still going to do it. Marlene looked down at her hands. My sister used to say something. What? She'd say, Marlene, you've got this bad habit of acting like being strong means nobody gets to see where you messed up. Charlie smiled faintly. She sounds smart. She was annoying as hell. Those aren't mutually exclusive. Marlene laughed. Then her face softened. After she died, I kept thinking if I'd taken more food, saved more money, done something different. Maybe. She stopped. Charlie didn't finish the thought for her. That's stupid, Marlene said. Grief isn't especially logical. No. She looked at the audit notice. I don't want to win by pretending I was perfect. Charlie nodded. I think that's the first thing you've said since we met that I couldn't have learned in business. That's supposed to be a compliment? Yes. Needs work. He smiled. The bus pulled toward Marlene's stop. Before she stood, Charlie said, For what it's worth, I didn't lose that wallet on purpose. Marlene looked at him. I know. I just realized the whole thing probably sounds like one of those ridiculous tests rich people supposedly do. Trust me, if you'd told me you planted it to test me, I'd have thrown it back in your face. Good to know. She stood. You didn't test me, Charlie. No? No. You lost your wallet. She headed toward the door. I tested me. The temp agency called Thursday morning. Marlene had applied for a cafeteria position 2 weeks earlier. Good news, the recruiter said. They're ready to move forward pending the final background and employment verification. Marlene closed her eyes. Of course. There's something I need to tell you. She could have waited. She could have hoped Maple Ridge corrected the file first. Instead, she emailed the same written statement she'd prepared for the grievance. 30 minutes later, the recruiter called back. We need to pause placement until the employment dispute is resolved. Pause? Yes. Meaning I don't start Monday. Correct. How long? I can't say. Marlene stared at the shelter wall. Okay. We'll keep your application active. Sure. Bitches and I. Sharp. When the call ended, she sat very still. That job had paid $17.40 an hour. Not glamorous. Not life-changing. But real. A schedule. A paycheck. Maybe enough to move from transitional housing into a rented room eventually. Now it was paused because she'd decided to tell the truth before anybody asked. For 10 minutes, Marlene hated herself. Then she hated Kathy. Then Charlie. Charlie hadn't done anything. That didn't stop her. She met him that evening at the laundromat. He knew something was wrong immediately. What happened? Lost the cafeteria job. Because of Maple Ridge. Paused. Charlie nodded. How much do you need? Marlene's head snapped up. He closed his eyes. Sorry. Shoo. You lasted almost 3 days. Personal record. She wanted to be angry. Instead, she sat on a plastic chair. Charlie sat beside her. Not too close. You can say it, Marlene said. Say what? That I'm being stubborn. I don't think you are. That's disappointing. I think you're scared. She looked at him. Careful. I also think you have reason to be. Marlene watched shirts tumble behind the glass dryer door. My sister used to fold everything right out of the dryer. That's sensible. She was obsessive. Towels had to line up. My wife was like that. Marlene turned. Charlie rarely mentioned family. Was. She died 7 years ago. I'm sorry. Thank you. Cancer. Heart attack. Unexpected. Marlene looked back at the dryer. That's different. Different kind of bad. Yeah. Charlie rubbed his palms together. After she died, I tried fixing everybody. Your kids, employees, friends, my daughter, anybody who'd let me. Money? Mostly. How'd that go? Not great. Marlene smiled slightly. My daughter finally told me she didn't need another check. She needed me to stop acting like every uncomfortable thing was an invoice. Marlene laughed. Smart kid. Annoying as hell. She looked at him. Charlie grinned. I've been listening. For the first time since the temp agency called, Marlene relaxed. Charlie didn't offer to solve anything else. He didn't tell her the job would work out. He didn't say the hearing would be fine. He just sat there while dryers turned and quarters clattered into machines. Eventually Marlene said, I almost withdrew the grievance today. What stopped you? I got mad. At Kathy? At myself. Why? Because I thought maybe losing the job proved I was stupid to keep going. Charlie nodded. And then I thought about that word sitting in my file for another 10 years. Theft. Yeah. She leaned forward. I can live with violated food removal policy. That's ugly. But it's mine. And theft isn't? Not the way she wrote it. Charlie nodded. Then don't quit. Marlene looked at him sideways. That's advice. I thought you liked advice. From who? Fair point. Later that night, Marlene called Nora from the shelter's shared phone area. Nora. Hey. I need to tell you something. Okay. You don't have to come tomorrow. Silence. I mean it. I shouldn't have put your name down without asking. If HR calls you, tell them you don't want to participate. Marlene. No. You have a family. You need your job. I get it. What about the notebook? I have copies. And if Kathy says I wrote them wrong, then she says it. You need somebody to explain them. I'll explain what I know. Nora sighed. You always do this. Do what? Decide for everybody. Marlene frowned. What are you talking about? You decided I should be in the grievance. Now you're deciding I shouldn't. Marlene opened her mouth. Stopped. Nora continued. You ever think about asking? Marlene sat down. Okay. Okay, what? I'm asking. Nora was quiet. Do you want to come tomorrow? Another pause. No. Marlene's stomach tightened. Then Nora said, But I think I should. Marlene closed her eyes. You sure? No, but that's becoming a popular answer. Nora laughed nervously. I'll be there. Nora. Yeah. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. The call ended. Marlene sat with the receiver in her hand. For months she'd thought losing control was the same thing as becoming helpless. Now she was beginning to understand something harder. Sometimes control meant letting somebody else choose. Friday morning arrived cold and bright. Marlene met Charlie at a breakfast counter at 7:10. The hearing was at 9. Harbor House needed any corrected paperwork by noon. Charlie ordered eggs. Marlene ordered toast. You need protein, he said. You need boundaries. I walked into that one. Yes, you did. He pushed half his eggs onto a side plate. Marlene stared. What? I'm full. You've taken 2 bites. Sudden loss of appetite. You are terrible at this. At what? Helping without helping. Charlie sighed. You want the eggs or not? Marlene took them. Thank you. You're welcome. A few minutes later, Charlie set his fork down. I have an offer. No. You haven't heard it. Does it involve money? Yes. No. Marlene. She looked at him. Just listen. Fine. I reserved a room at the Beaumont through next Wednesday. Her face hardened. Charlie. I can cancel it in 10 seconds. Then cancel it. If the hearing doesn't go your way, cancel it. You could sleep somewhere private while you wait for the next Harbor House intake. No. Why? Marlene pushed her plate away. Because every time things get hard, you still think the answer is making them comfortable. What is so wrong with being comfortable? Nothing. Then, because I need this settled. And sleeping in a hotel somehow stops that. No. It gives me an excuse not to care as much. Charlie frowned. That's not fair. Maybe not. To either of us. Marlene looked at him. He was right. She softened. This isn't about your money being dirty. I know. No, you don't. She took a breath. If I need a motel someday and you offer and I say yes, that's okay. I'm learning that. Charlie nodded. But today, if I take it, I know what I'll do. I'll tell myself I can deal with Maple Ridge later. Then later becomes next month. So this is about you. Yes. He leaned back. That's all you had to say. I said cancel it 4 times. I meant the other part. Marlene smiled. Cancel the room. Charlie took out his phone. He canceled it. No argument. At the library, Nora joined them. She looked like she hadn't slept. Marlene placed 3 documents on the table. Waste logs. Notebook copies. Audit email. That's it, Marlene said. Nora blinked. That's all? We don't need 50 things. Charlie smiled. What? Marlene pointed at him. Don't. I didn't say anything. You had a businessman face. I don't know what that is. Yes, you do. Nora laughed. The tension eased. Marlene went over exactly what she planned to ask for. Not reinstatement. She didn't want her job back. Not money. Not damages. Not an apology. Just a corrected employment record stating that she violated food removal policy by taking items designated for disposal after previous informal supervisory tolerance. Nora frowned. That makes you look guilty. I was guilty of that. You could say Kathy told us it was okay. She did. Then why admit anything? Because the written rule still said no. Nora looked at her. You really think Har's going to respect that? I don't know, Charlie said quietly, but she'll respect herself. Marlene looked at him. Okay, that one was good. Thank you. At 8:48, they entered Maple Ridge. The HR manager came to meet them. Kathy was already inside the conference room. Marlene stopped at the door, then turned to Charlie. You wait here. His eyebrows lifted. I figured I'd sit in. No. You might want support. I've got Nora. Charlie looked through the glass at Kathy. Marlene. You promised my plan. He held her gaze, then nodded. My plan. She smiled. See you after. Charlie sat in the lobby. Marlene went inside without him, and for perhaps the first time since they met, Charlie understood that staying out could be an act of loyalty too. The HR manager introduced herself as Melissa Grant. No one else spoke for the first few seconds. Kathy sat straight-backed at the far end of the conference table. Nora sat beside Marlene. Melissa opened a folder. Marlene, you've requested correction of the reason listed for your termination. Yes. You dispute that you removed food from Maple Ridge? No. Kathy looked up. Melissa did too. No? I took food. Marlene's voice trembled slightly. She hated that. She kept going anyway. Sealed meals that were already logged for disposal. Melissa looked at the papers. You acknowledge company policy prohibited employees from removing food without authorization? Yes. And you did not have written authorization. Correct. Kathy shifted. Melissa asked, then what exactly do you believe is inaccurate? The word theft, and the statement that I acted secretly against my supervisor's knowledge. Kathy spoke. You did act without authorization. Marlene turned. Written authorization. Authorization. Did you ever tell employees they could take sealed meals after the waste count? Kathy looked at Melissa. I occasionally permitted specific items to be taken. Did you permit me? I don't remember every conversation. Marlene slid Nora's copied notebook pages forward. Nora does. Melissa examined them. Kathy's face tightened. These are our informal notes. Yes, Nora said. Everyone looked at her. Nora swallowed. I wrote them during prep, every day. Kathy said, you could have misunderstood. Nora's hands shook. Maybe once. She pointed at the copies. Not for months. Kathy turned to Melissa. None of this changes the signed policy. Marlene said, I'm not asking it to. That stopped the room. Marlene continued, I broke the policy. Kathy leaned back. Marlene placed the waste sheets beside the notebook, but the food was already marked discard. Melissa reviewed them. Correct. Marlene placed the final page down, and Kathy wrote the theft statement one day after this audit notice. Kathy's eyes moved to the paper. Melissa picked it up. December 13th. Marlene nodded. I was fired the 14th. Kathy said, that proves nothing. No, Marlene said. It doesn't. Kathy seemed startled again. Marlene kept her voice steady. It doesn't prove you sat in your office and decided to frame me. I'm not saying that. Melissa watched carefully. What are you saying? I'm saying Kathy let people take leftover food until somebody above her started asking questions. Then suddenly the exact same thing became something I'd supposedly hidden from her. Kathy's jaw tightened. That is your interpretation. Yeah. Marlene looked directly at her. So tell yours. Silence. Kathy folded her hands. We had developed bad habits in the kitchen. Marlene didn't interrupt. I was too informal about certain procedures, Kathy continued. Melissa's expression changed. Kathy noticed. But Marlene knew written policy. I did, Marlene said. And she made her own decision. I did. Kathy looked almost angry at Marlene for agreeing. Marlene continued. That's why I'm not asking you to erase what I did. She pointed to the termination statement. I'm asking you to stop pretending you didn't know the practice existed. Kathy looked down. Melissa asked, Kathy, before December 13th, had you allowed staff to remove sealed food designated for disposal? Kathy breathed in. On occasion. Was Marlene among those staff? Another pause. Yes. Nora closed her eyes. Marlene didn't move. Melissa asked, Did you document those permissions? No. Did you discipline employees for the practice before the audit notice? No. Why? Kathy's voice became quieter. Because I didn't consider it a significant issue at the time. There it was. Not a confession. Not a dramatic collapse. Just the truth arriving in pieces because there was nowhere left for it to hide. Melissa closed the folder. I need 20 minutes. Marlene stood. Kathy remained seated. Before Marlene reached the door, Kathy said, I wasn't trying to ruin your life. Marlene stopped. She turned. I know. Kathy looked surprised. Marlene continued. You were trying to protect yours. Kathy didn't deny it. Outside, Charlie stood immediately. Well, 20 minutes. Nora walked toward the restroom. Charlie looked at Marlene. You okay? Nope, I did too. Want coffee? Desperately. He brought her one from a machine down the hall. It was terrible. She drank it anyway. 27 minutes later, Melissa called them back. Kathy wasn't there. Melissa sat across from Marlene. We are not reversing the termination. Marlene's stomach tightened. Melissa continued. You did violate written food removal policy. I understand. However, based on the records provided in Ms. Sloan's statements today, we agree the current notation is incomplete and potentially misleading. Marlene held still. We will amend the file. To what? Melissa read from a draft. Terminated following violation of food removal policy involving items previously designated for disposal. Similar informal practices had previously occurred with supervisory awareness. Marlene's eyes stung. She blinked hard. The word theft. Removed. Nora reached under the table and squeezed her hand. Melissa continued. The company is also initiating a supervisory review regarding enforcement and documentation of food disposal procedures. What happens to Kathy? I can't discuss personnel discipline. Marlene nodded. Fair enough. When can I get the corrected letter? Melissa looked at the clock. 10:41. I can have it signed by 11. Marlene almost laughed. Please do. At 11:08, the letter arrived. Marlene held it in both hands. Charlie waited outside the building. She stepped through the doors. He searched her face. Well. She handed him the letter. He read it. Then looked up. You did it. Marlene shook her head. No. Charlie frowned. We did. She nodded toward Nora. Nora did her part. Melissa did hers. Even Kathy finally did hers. And me? Marlene took the paper back. You waited in the lobby. Charlie smiled. I've never been so proud of doing nothing. You're finally getting the hang of it. Then Marlene looked at the time. 11:13. Harbor House closed the application at noon. Come on, she said. Charlie reached for his keys. This time she didn't argue. They reached Harbor House at 11:31. Dana Pike took the corrected letter into her office. Marlene sat in the same chair she'd occupied 4 days earlier. Charlie sat 2 chairs away again. She noticed. You can sit here. He looked at the empty seat beside her. Sure. Don't make it weird. He moved over. At 11:52, Dana came through the security door. Marlene. Marlene stood. Dana smiled. Not a huge smile. Not one of those movie smiles that told you every problem in the world had disappeared. Just enough. We can reopen your application. Marlene's shoulders dropped. Dana continued. I want to be clear. This isn't permanent housing. I know. It's a 90-day transitional placement with case management requirements. I know. You'll need to continue employment search activity. Already am. And the room won't be available until Monday. Marlene nodded. Monday's fine. Dana handed her the paperwork. You did a lot in 4 days. Marlene looked at Charlie, then back at Dana. I had help. Charlie said nothing. Marlene smiled. And I did a lot. Dana smiled too. Yes, you did. Several weeks later, Marlene started work in the cafeteria of a rehabilitation center. The temp agency had called again after receiving the corrected Maple Ridge record. Her new supervisor asked about the policy violation. Marlene told her exactly what happened. No polished version. No heroic version. The real one. The supervisor listened and said, Well, around here you ask before taking leftovers. Marlene replied, Believe me, I have learned that lesson. She got the job. Her room at Harbor House wasn't much. Single bed. Small dresser. Window facing a brick wall. Shared kitchen. The first night, Marlene sat on the mattress holding the keycard. She cried for exactly 30 seconds. Then she told herself that was enough drama for one evening and went downstairs to make tea. Charlie didn't buy her furniture. He didn't pay her rent. He didn't put her on some charity board. He did occasionally buy breakfast. Marlene occasionally let him. And sometimes she bought his. A month after the morning they met, they sat at the downtown bus terminal waiting for separate buses. Charlie was complaining about his daughter making him use a grocery delivery app. You founded 3 companies, Marlene said. 2. You can't order bananas? Apparently bananas have settings now. What settings? Green, ready to eat. Mixed ripeness. That last one is for people who enjoy chaos. I clicked it. Of course you did. Charlie's bus appeared on the board. He stood. His brown leather wallet remained on the bench. Marlene looked at it, then at him. Charlie. What? She held up the wallet. He stared. Oh, come on. Marlene laughed. You did not. I swear. You're 68 years old. 69 next month. That doesn't improve the situation. He took the wallet. For 1 second, neither said anything. The first time she'd handed it to him, Marlene had been wearing everything she owned. Now her Harbor House keycard hung from a lanyard around her neck. A transit pass rested in her pocket. Nothing about her life was glamorous. Nothing had magically become easy. She still counted dollars. She still had days when the future felt too close to the edge. But she had a room to return to, a job to wake up for, and a corrected piece of paper in a folder under her bed that told the truth. Charlie tucked the wallet securely inside his jacket. "Zip the pocket," Marlene said. "Yes, ma'am." "And don't ma'am me." "Yes, Marlene." His bus pulled in. Charlie stepped toward it, then turned. "You know, I never actually asked you something." "What?" "When you found the wallet that morning, did you think about taking the money?" Marlene stared at him. Then she laughed. "Hell yes." Charlie laughed too. "You thought I was a saint?" "For about 10 minutes." "Well, get over it." He stepped onto the bus. Marlene lifted a hand. Charlie waved from inside. Her own bus would arrive in 7 minutes. She sat back down. For a moment she looked at the empty spot on the bench where that brown wallet had been lying a month earlier. She remembered being hungry, late, dancing, scared. She remembered thinking nobody would know. Then she touched the housing key card hanging against her coat. Nobody had needed to know. She had, and for Marlene Brooks, that had finally become enough. If this story moved you, share it with someone who believes one honest choice can still matter. Like the video. Follow Curves and Crown Stories. And come back for another story about ordinary people facing choices that reveal who they really are.